Welcome back to the class, everyone. We have another JC video. Again, this is a previous stream of ours for the second match of this week, and we're just going to be going through the battles, kind of explaining our mentality in a lot of places, seeing what counters worked and what didn't work as a great point of reference as well. So before we actually get into today's, you'll see that we already have a video going on right now that is General Grievous versus Iden. But before we get into the bulk of everything, there is something that I need to mention. So we had tried actually to use Nest versus this Iden team, but our blue stacks crashed on us. Luckily, I think we're going to have another opportunity to do that in the next match. So hopefully we can finally see that fight, because I'm really not sold on it. But at the same time, I really want to know. I really want to know if it has legs. I really want to know if it's just a complete slaughter. The other battle that is also missed due to technical difficulties, it was Bounty Hunters versus Darth Revan. It was pretty straightforward. We had two Gear 12s, both Grief and Mandible Gear 12, but we slaughtered a pretty much full R7 Darth Revan. So those two battles are missing from this, but we do have the rest of the battles here. So the first battle we're going to be starting out with, and again, we'll go over all of the offense and defense and roster teams at the very end of the video. I'm working on getting that into the beginning, though, because I think it's a lot more appropriate. So basically, we're taking Grievous here. You'll notice that we do not have B1. That is very, very important to get this to work in any capacity. B1 just feeds them way too much turn meter. He feeds them way too much health protection, and you really just can't get ahead of them. So I like this comp right here. Basically, we still have Nute, B2, Droideka. It's very important that you don't roll Droideka so she doesn't assist. It's also important that you don't call anyone to assist with Nute. The enemy team actually has the relic advantage here. We were using two Gear 12s, both DDK and B2 were Gear 12, and the entire enemy team was between R3, R5. So I think as long as you can match relics, or at least the gap isn't too big, this counter should be fairly consistent, because the enemy team has the Zeta, they had the Omicron, they had pretty much the correct comp. I think range is in there. A lot of people go for Snow, but I don't think there's a big variance between the two. You do notice it does get kind of sketchy here, but luckily Grievous is able to stack his health enough that it really just becomes kind of irrelevant what the enemy team can do. He's not doing enough, and then they do get into a little bit of a slappy fight here. This is kind of entertaining, and Grievous is actually really good at slappy fights. I've actually won versus C. I've actually won versus C with the slappy fight before, so this is not really that big of a deal. But yeah, you have to have your team really well modded. You have to have your team equally geared, if not more so, I think, to be able to take down an Iden team with General Grievous. Again, I do not recommend using B1. I think he really hurts you a lot more than he helps you. But we'll get to the guy's roster at the very end of the video. But this is, once again, just another person who has a really, really strong roster. They have all 6 GLs. They have Starkiller. They have more Omicrons than we have. They have 300 more relic levels than we do. The next battle we're going to be doing is C versus Gas. And I'm not sure if you were able to see it, but he has an R8 5s, R8 Arc, and R8 Gas, which is really, really strong. And we did lose C solo versus Gas not too long ago. And I didn't really have a use for Watt, so we're just taking in Watt here just to ensure that we win this, because we don't have a lot of margin for error. Again, this guy has a pretty heavy roster advantage on us, so I didn't want to venture into risking possibly losing this one. And there's really not much to this match. I mean, you link Gas, you link 5s, you throw the tank tech on C, and even if the team is really, really stinking well modded, they can't really do anything. You'll notice this entire fight, we don't even dip below protection, which means my seed that has 190k health, even that part is relevant. Like, I didn't have to be well modded to get that far. Yeah, eventually we'll build up our ultimate charge here. I did want to make sure to link Arc and Echo. I think that's very, very important with Watt or without Watt, just because that minimizes their damage big time. And we do actively avoid proccing the ult. That's just so that we can kind of get an extra banner at the end. Doesn't always work out, but you really don't need the ult. This is one of the few fights where C really doesn't need the ult to have the same effectiveness, and it's actually even more beneficial because you have more of an opportunity to get protection back with the middle ability. So yeah, we kill 5s, we kill Gas, and I'm trying to maintain the link as long as possible, so I'm getting Echo and Arc down kind of at equal margins, instead of just going all out on one or going all out on the other. So they go down, Gas gets back up, he's pissed, but we're able to, again, gain enough protection so that we can get that one extra banner and get the lead. This next battle is actually one of my favorites, using Gear 12 Dash versus pretty much any resistance team. We've done this a ton of times. We've done this against pretty much all variations of resistance except Georay herself. So Finn lead, JTR lead, BB-8, no BB-8, bros, no bros. There's just not a lot they can do. The team as a whole only has one AoE, and it's not a high damaging AoE. It's Finn's resistance hero Finn's grenade little toss throw. And basically what that means is if they have no AoEs, they can't damage Vandor and they're permanently stuck behind L3. And if they're permanently stuck behind L3, they can't do Diddly Squat. So there's not a whole lot of strategy in this. In the very beginning, I do try to hit everyone's staggers. That way we can just maintain them from cleansing, because both Finn and Resistance Hero Finn have a way to cleanse, and the battle just goes smooth if they don't get that. But ultimately it's not that big of a deal. I don't know if you guys saw, but they did dodge the initial hit to hit the stagger, and it didn't really matter. The team, this dash team was just really, really, really good. I think you can have a lot of variation on the sides. I like all four of these sides just because they have a lot of interaction with the prepared mechanic, and I think that's really beneficial, especially the way dash allows everyone to stay with prepared the entire time. Because again, we're consistently using Gear 12 to beat relic characters, which being at a 300 relic disadvantage is really necessary. This fight is fun. So this is an R9 Lord Vader, and he's modded really well, but he's with a really janky comp. It is full Empire, so it's not the worst. We've seen worse, unfortunately. But he's got R7 Railguard in there, and then I think R3 Stormtrooper, and that's just really enough. We do make sure to go after Royal Guard here right away. We do have a 363 shock, so that really makes a lot of this possible. And I take a lot of thinking on this one. This is a new counter for me. I do not know it that well, so I'm constantly debating between certain moves, especially with Dark Troopers TM here. We do it both here and a little bit later in the match. We're just trying to figure out what is the right way to do this. And we did get a little bit of good RNG here. You'll notice that we got pretty consistent #1 Piet calls and Dark Trooper assists. Like Dark, at one point in here, is going to assist 3 times in a row, which is really, really hard to make that happen. That being said, my Dark is only R5. If my Dark were maybe more appropriate R9, we wouldn't have to rely on good RNG to be able to get through a R7 Railguard. This Railguard was modded pretty well too. He had full defense sets, health primaries. He did have some defense primaries, which isn't as ideal, but it's still like really, really good. So yeah, we're able to get through Railguard. You have to do Railguard first. You can't go for anyone else because it kind of messes the taunt up and they end up healing. Yeah, you'll see here we're conflicted again on what to do with Dark Trooper. I don't know if I really stand by the AoE. Looking back, I don't think that was the ideal move. I think I had a remote shot at maybe getting a kill in on the sides, and it just wasn't even remotely true. And then, yeah, so chat was also helping us a little bit through. Again, this is a very new counter for me. I think we've only done it 3 times in GAC. I did it once, and I've done it a few times actually in Territory Wars as well, and it's worked every single time there. It just really goes to show that Lord Vader cares about his comp. Almost all the Geos really care about their comp. It really makes or breaks them, and it cuts out what counters can work and what can't work. So yeah, we got their Stormtrooper pretty well. TIE Fighter Pilot just died like a dog. Tarkhead even more so. And then this is where things kind of got sketchy. This is where a R8 Dark would really come in handy against a R9 Lord Vader. But we switched things up a little bit. I just wanted a basic with get there, it generates more turn meter. And this is where things kind of got scary. So we went for the turn meter up there. And I think this is the triple assist with Dark. So 1 hit. Oh, yeah, it was just 2 hits. But we killed him from yellow, which is super brutal. So now we're going to go ahead and take out this raid team with JML. I'm really trying to spread out my Jedi because there is a CLS team also in this bottom wall. There's raids in the bottom wall. There's a CLS team here as well. And I need to beat it with Qui-Gon Jinn. And I've never done that before, so I'm kind of trying to hold some of my better Jedi for that Qui-Gon Jinn 2. We don't typically do that. We typically just kind of let Jedi Anakin shine. But with the CLS was really good. It had a lot of R8s on it as well, or at least R8 on CLS, and the rest of the team was really well modded. So we did kind of something interesting here. This raid team isn't the best. It's anti-C, I'll give it that. It might even be a little tricky for gas. But with the way Rey's kit works, I think she can only really kill kind of junky characters like Mace. Sorry, Ayla. I can only really kill them, and we just take Jolie to revive whoever goes down. And then Jedi Knight Luke is our damage dealer. So this actually ends up going super well, despite having two pretty junky Jedi in there. And this, I mean, this raid comp was pretty good. She is offense modded. She did not have quite 12,000 offense. She was a little bit short. I think she was more like 11,500 or something, somewhere around there. And you'll see that pretty much exactly what we thought would happen did happen. And that is Rey's going to get her ult here. We'll get ours first. And she just ends up wiping out Ayla and almost Mace too. I'm actually kind of surprised Mace survived there. But it doesn't matter because the only ability of Rey's that negates revives is Whirlwind. So as long as we don't die to one of those, everything is fine. We can bring someone back with Jolie, and we can keep spamming the lead ability from Jedi Knight Luke over to, or onto Jedi Knight Luke. And that's exactly what we do. So we got Rey out of there by calling in Jedi Knight Luke. JML being R9 helps immensely with that. I think that's the reason why we're doing so well. That is the reason why we're doing so well in JC, is that R9 JML. He makes such a huge difference against when you're out GL, because he allows you to get away with kind of really dumb things like this. Like, we didn't have to take in a good comp. I mean, we have Jolie and Jedi Luke, and they're both very, very versatile as far as Jedi go. But I mean, getting to use Ayla and Mace, that's really, really nice. And even our last match, where we were able to beat a bad JMK squad that had Mace, without having to use Jedi Knight Luke and Jedi Knight Revan. And none of that would be possible if we still had an R8 or an R7 GML. So I'll go ahead and pimp that again. So yeah, and the rest of this is very, very easy cleanup. Just calling in the lead ability. We're trying to call in characters to get protection back, because the lead ability gets a little bit of protection. I think we're able to get that on maybe 2 characters. Yeah, 2 full protection characters. So that's just something you can do if you don't have Hoda in there. Otherwise, you just spam Hoda. This next one is pretty darn sketchy. We're taking in Bad Batch versus Qui-Gon Jinn. It's a really good Qui-Gon Jinn team. Shakti had like a 362 speed after 361 speed after Cam and Qui-Gon Jinn's speed bonus. So we were just barely faster than them. And then this is where things really kind of started to fall apart. We didn't land the 2-turn stun on Jinn and Anakin, despite massively outdoing the potency, the tenacity potency check. But we did bring everyone under like the same amount of health at the same time. We got the kill on Qui-Gon Jinn, and then we got Cam out of there too. So he had a lot of damage for that AoE, but at this point, with it being just Jinn and Anakin, there wasn't a whole lot he could do, especially with Echo in there. Echo is still very, very important. I guess we could say the blind from Omega came also in pretty clutch there. This next one, it just keeps proving what we've been talking about as far as Iden goes. And again, this is one of the things that has been saving us against these massively larger accounts. This is I think I can probably count the relics here. He had R5 on every character except Kyle Katarn, who was R7. So this team had a total of, do math here, 27 relics, and we're taking in a team of gear 12 and below. No one on this team is even gear 13. And just because it's a hard counter, we could just go ahead and slaughter them. There's nothing they can do. Something we did learn a little bit this time going around using this counter is try to kill the characters that A, don't call a lot of assists, and B, aren't as much of a threat, or are more of a threat first. Because what we kind of ran into, it didn't cost us the match, but we left Kara for almost last, and what that ended up doing is it cut down on the assists, because, you know, Hoth Rebel Scout and Pow weren't there to do anything, and because there were less assists, we weren't getting as much turn meter, and Kara was almost starting to loop her AoE stuns, which would have been really, really bad. So word to the wise, if you can leave specifically Hoth Rebel Scout and Pow there, that is going to be very, very helpful to not get yourself in a sticky situation. And at least if you're like this much of a gear disadvantage. So we do end up death marking Hoth Rebel Scout, Hoth Rebel Scout, which was good, but we really, really should have death marked Kara, because again, we're getting into the situation that is less than ideal. It doesn't ultimately matter because they keep assisting, and it's kind of the end of the match for them. But yeah, I've yet to see a comp where this didn't work, even at this much of a gear disadvantage. I will finally death mark her there. She cleanses it, which is annoying, but really not a deal breaker. Go ahead and rip all that stuff off of her. And there's really not a whole lot of strategy outside of kill order here. We just spam specials, especially with short taunting. That gives us a lot of extra turn meter along with the assists, so that's nice. And there's really not that big of a fear of timeout here because Iden gives stacking offense to the team, which is also probably the scariest thing using Nest against her. That's an easy 65. Really not much to say there. It's just a hard counter. We're using Empire versus Geos. We had kind of debated whether or not we need to Thrawn. We didn't. Thrawn was really just not necessary. Didn't change anything. I mean, there's really not a lot to say in this match. I mean, it's... You take almost any team with Vader on it versus Geos, and they just get slaughtered. Like, yeah. I think we end up killing a Relic soldier here on a basic. Yeah, 80k hit. I love his basic ever since his nerf. His basic is amazing. It is very sad that it came at the price of his Culling Blade. Yeah, Thrawn really wasn't needed here at all. I was thinking of maybe even fracturing one of these characters that the counters, and then they just all died, and it didn't matter. We did land the stun with Mara, though. That was pretty cool. We almost never land that. Despite the, I guess, tenacity not as applied afterwards, so that's kind of irrelevant. A little bit of machine gun Palp here. Pew onto GBA, and smack Poggle in the face. He didn't dodge this time, so that's nice. He said, okay, this next team is kind of weird, but at the same time, there's not really much he could do about it. He set a really weird Maul team. I don't know if I'm like racist against Dathomirians, but I hate Maul lead. I just think it's so bad. Like, out of all these Sith, pretty much every Sith lead I find superior. Like, I probably would have found Darth Vader lead superior to this in this specific comp. I just don't like it. I don't think it gets you anywhere. That being said, it's kind of irrelevant because this Jedi Knight Revan team would have won against Darth Vader lead. It would have won against Emperor Palpatine lead. I mean, unless it was Darth Revan himself, then that would have been the only real breaking point. And Darth Revan was here, so it's kind of whatever. Again, not a lot of strategy this one either. We made sure to go after Darth Vader first. He's a major threat out of every character here on the field. But even then, I think we might have been able to go without hitting him. And just with the amount of recovery mechanics we have, and the amount of tenacity up we have, even Darth Vader wouldn't have been really able to get going. So we're able to finish this with full protection on everyone, which is pretty exciting. Now this match, this was the scary one. This is the one I didn't know if we were going to be able to win. The whole match didn't really rest on it. But it was scary. Oh, this is so frustrating in the moment. I needed them to hit any character but Qui-Gon Jinn, because typically how I win with this team is they just beat up on some other character, and then Jedi Anakin goes ape, and they can't kill anyone because Qui-Gon Jinn isn't dead. But they went right after Qui-Gon Jinn, so that sucked. But we just kind of went with it to see what would happen. We had debated what we were going to do here, and eventually we just decided to pull the trigger on the AoE. And it worked. It worked very stinking well. We were able to kill 2 of them with that. Barris, helpful in here. CLS's hits did a lot less. And Cam, I think Cam was really, really the reason why we won this one. Just because the extra offense that he gives to Qui-Gon Jinn that is then transferred upon Qui-Gon Jinn's death. So I don't typically have the luxury to give Cam up, but this round we did, and we went with it, and it worked. Our opponent did not put Executor down. He put Negotiator, which I hate Negotiator. There is one thing in this game I hate. It is Negotiator. I hate it so much. So we put Negotiator down. I believe the other was an Empire team. And at this point, I was really not being too strategic. I was not thinking about my moves. I didn't really care. Because we had, at this point in the match, spoiler, we had won. Our opponent wasn't able to get through a JMK in the back wall. And that was pretty much it. They were able to full clear the ground, and we were able to full clear the ground. So the rest didn't really matter. But we decided to still play around here for the sake of doing it. I think I might have misplayed here at some point, but this match ends up going pretty south. They were able to call in Plo while Jedi Anakin was down, which is not good. And then on top of that, they were able to get him unending loyal again, which is super frustrating because this whole match, whether on offense or defense, lives or breathes on whether or not Jedi Anakin lives. Because if he keeps living, keeps taking turns, keeps wreaking havoc, and if he dies, then really the Negotiator fleet is garbage without Jedi Anakin. Without him facilitating the Valor, without him just doing a ton of damage, without him constantly hitting characters with target lock, the fleet just can't do much. So, again, kind of got frustrating here. We did just kind of, on a whim, take in Soldier. I'm like, hey, I wonder if we can kill Jedi Anakin here. And then he died. And everything was good in the world. Yeah, this would have been, in a banner efficiency type of match, I probably wouldn't have been too happy with this match, but at this point, we didn't even need the win. for this to be okay. So really can't complain. Even with killing Jedi Anakin, if we lose right here, it doesn't really matter because like I said, any comp can pretty much clean up Negotiator as long as Jedi Anakin isn't there. As long as he isn't there, there's really not a lot they can do. Especially after losing other ships like the Y-Wing or Ahsoka ship. So let's go for the damage here. We're able to clean up pretty well. Getting to ult was very helpful. Get the protection off of this team. Keep Negotiator from doing stuff. And that's all she wrote for that one. And then the next fight, again, I'm just not really paying attention here. We go into Finalizer versus Empire. I took in the wrong tie. And someone in the comments even told me, like, hey, are you taking the wrong tie? And I was like, oh, am I? And then we get in there like, oh, I guess we are. So this is far less than ideal. We definitely wanted the assist here. That would have been much more helpful. But I really wanted to go after Shuttle first. I feel like Shuttle causes the majority of the problems through his unique. So we went after him first, and I really don't regret that. The Bomber himself really wasn't able to do a ton of stuff in this match. And yeah, we did basically just wipe the board with them. Again, not super great banners here, but a win's a win. I don't know where... I wonder if he used... I don't think he had an R9 GK. I might have an R9 GK. I'm trying to think now. Where was his TIE Advanced? Where's Vader's ship? Maybe he used it now because you need Negotiator to use it. Yeah, I don't know where TIE Advanced is. I don't know if he was in the reinforcements here and we just don't really get to see him. But yeah, typically him in the starting lineup is also very problematic because you really want to kill him as well. Yeah, but we're able to come in here. We're able to kill that ship, and that's pretty much all there is to it. So this is going to be the end of it. We were able to squash everything. We'll go over my defenses now. You can see our final score here is that our opponent did not attack after that. He's actually a really nice guy. He messaged me. He's actually an actual doctor. So he had a really busy day, and he said he wasn't able to put a lot of effort into the match, but we still did really well. So I'll go through our defenses a little bit here. So this whole front wall was kind of like a meager attempt to draw out maybe a GL or two. Like, I assumed that he was going to use JML here no matter what. So, all right, let's give him a really crappy team to burn a GL on. Because he had the GL advantage. I don't think he was going to try something silly like Jedi Knight Luke, Jedi Knight Revan when he has 2 extra GLs, and he took a lot on offense. Maul, I'm guessing he ended up burning his JMK here, which is really nice. Mon Mothma Darth Revan didn't get anything, so that is what it is. And then in the back wall, so all these teams right here, we had tried to draw out the GLs so that once he got to the back, he wouldn't be able to use them. I don't know. I want to see the history on this. I want to know what happened here. That intrigues me highly. JMK didn't get attempted, which makes me think that he didn't have his own JMK once he got back here. And gas was one shot. So we tried to draw out some stuff. We'll have to look at the reports to see if it actually worked. But, I mean, we got the win. Top, really not a lot going on here. JTR held once. That was pretty fun. Ships, he one-shot both, and I believe we left both Executor and Negotiator for him. So yeah, we left a pretty heavy ship defense, but he didn't care. And then just kind of recapping on his defense overall, we had our Nest crash here, which we take in GG. Darth Revan, we used Bounty Hunters. Like, look at this team. Look how relic this team is. In Gear 12 on Grief and Mando beat it. We did have Zam's Omicrons that helped a lot. And the rest of the battles were seen in the video, but that is pretty much going to be it for this one, guys. Please like, subscribe, help out the algorithm, which apparently that's a really big deal, so we should probably start talking about it more. But yeah, we are now 2-3, or 2 out of 3 for this match. We have another match come up here in an hour and a half, so that stream actually already happened by now. But anyways, until the next time, guys, stay awesome.